Friends and watchers of illusion, welcome to another Delboy film retrospective and unboxing. And I think we'll get it out the way straight away than I normally deliberate. We're going to be talking about a little comedy that I always go back to every couple of years that has a place in my heart, and that is the Three Amigos. And it's one of those sort of like little gem films. Some people call them cult classics. To me, it's one of those films where I had a big anticipation for it, based on the year that it came out and what films were before it. It turned out to be a good film, and then when I actually got around to buying it and watching it on multiple occasions in my home cinema, I've grown to love it, to be totally fond of it. So what do we know a little bit about the Three Amigos? Well, it was made in 1986. It's a Western comedy film in the guise of many Western films before it. One that comes to mind will be Blazing Saddles, but it's not on that level. It's directed by John Landis. John Landis' name speaks for itself. He'd just done Animal House and An American Werewolf in London, and I was a big fan of the Blues Brothers. And then it's written by Lorne Michaels, Steve Martin, and Randy Newman. Lorne Michaels was somebody that I sort of like knew as a script writer, but Steve Martin and Randy Newman were well known to me. Steve Martin is probably the biggest name of the three, or to me, he was. I'd seen a lot of Steve Martin films before this one came out. I remember loving The Jerk, with his character Nathan Johnson and his invention of the optigrab. That really comes to mind. And then there is The Man with Two Brains, The Lonely Guy, and just before this film came out, All of Me was the film that I actually grew to love. I thought All of Me was a fantastic film. So basically, Steve Martin was the big one for me. But then again, you've got a heavy hitter like Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase had been in Fletch, Caddyshack, a number of films, but both of them, including the third one that I'll be talking about in the moment, were in Saturday Night Live. And Saturday Night Live was something that I used to stay up and watch, because it was never really a show that had a place in ITV's network, and that's where it ended up being over here in the UK. Martin Short was the unknown one to me. I didn't know too much about him, and we weren't watching the new broadcasts of Saturday Night Live. We were watching the old ones. So he was the unknown. And from what I know, this cast of Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short changed hands quite a bit. There was at one point, John Candy was going to be in this. Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and Steve Martin were the original lineup. John Candy, they said, didn't look right on a horse, too big, too large. And it was John Candy that suggested to Steve Martin that Martin Short would be ideal. And also with the height and size difference, would probably add a comedy element to it. I can't fault that, really. When it comes to Randy Newman, he wrote 3 songs for this. I'd known of Randy Newman probably because of my soundtracks. But he wrote some crackers on here. The main Three Amigos tune is brilliant. Blue Shadows on the Trail is fantastic and has got a really good comedy piece in the middle of the film involving some lip syncing. I won't go anymore. And My Little Buttercup is just a fun little ditty to play where they were trying to show off their talents in a bar at the very early on in the film. So what can I tell you about this film? I'll probably get some of the story out of the way. This film harkens back to many things that I know about cinema. So we sort of start off with a siege of a village, and that's done by a bandit called El Guapo. All these names are weird. The Mexican village is called Santa Poco. I mean, to me, this was all like weird sort of like names and so forth. And basically, when the village is taken over, they need to find somebody that will basically get their village back for them. They're now under, going to be under El Guapo's lead forever. And they saw some film clips of the Three Amigos in a film, and decide that they would be perfect. Now, the Three Amigos were also going under a big change. They were actually renegotiating their contract in Hollywood. And the renegotiation went bad. Now, there's shades here of Laurel and Hardy, because that's exactly what happened with Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy in regards to Hal Roach Studios. In fact, I think the director's name is Harry Flugerman. Hal Roach, Harry Flugerman. Anyway, the negotiations go bad. They're banished from the set. The only thing they own is the underwear that they're in. Their house is gone, all their clothes are gone, all their stage stuff is gone. And basically they're chucked out onto the streets. As it was when they were chucked out onto the streets, there happened to be a passing telegram, sort of like man postman type thing that wanders past, gives them a telegram, and it asks them to go and perform in Mexico for some money. It's actually a misread telegram. The telegram was supposed to be for the Three Amigos to liberate them. The Three Amigos think that it's for them to go and perform and get money. And so starts the whole of this film. And there are many, many comedy moments. They're sort of like little scenes that join together. I remember one scene when they're out in the desert, they're desperate for water. There's the three of them, sort of like very forlorn. Heat obviously bending down. Steve Martin gets his canister out and only a dribble of water comes out. Martin Short's character opens his canister and just sand falls into his mouth, which he has to cough it out. Chevy Chase opens his canister. Gallons of water is pouring all over his face. He's swishing it around in his mouth, spits it out, puts some stuff on his lips, looks at the other two that are in disbelief going, and not knowing why there was disbelief, he offered them his lip bar. Said, "Want some lip balm?" It's just little things like that. And I think most people will remember the scenes with the singing bush, which was voiced by Randy Newman. It's a film that really doesn't quite hit the mark when it comes to Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles to me always looked like a Western. It looked like the old Westerns. Three Amigos looked a bit more polished. I think that's probably what it is. The indoor scenes look like set pieces, on a set. The night scenes look like they were done in a studio. And the outdoor in a proper village looked like they could have just been repainted and could be a studio tour type thing. And I think that's probably why it doesn't quite hit the mark for me. But in regards to a comedy, there were so many films that come after this that I loved. I mean, Steve Martin's next big film would have been Roxanne, which to me, I just fell in love with that film. Martin Short will go on to do Inner Space with Joe Dante. And that's right up my alley, you know, with all of the special effects, science fiction, and a homage to Fantastic Voyage. So basically, all I can say about this film is it's an absolute classic. I really give it a thumbs up. But we have to sort of like undo this now, don't we? Because I've said we basically do an unboxing. So this is a steelbook edition of Three Amigos. It's on Blu-ray. I think this one is quite hard to get hold of now, the steelbook. But you can obviously get it on Blu-ray standard release. I really look forward to this. This came up on my sort of like Zavvi list quite early, and I pre-ordered it. So it's got its standard J card. So I'll see if I can take this off. Unfortunately, it does have those gel parts, so I have to be a bit careful. There we go. And the Three Amigos J card is there if you want to just take a quick snapshot of that. Brilliant. And this is the steelbook. Sort of a matte finish, but it's embossed and it's raised. Notice the 3 bullet holes. Those are actually indents and raised. So it's really quite good. On the back, we've got the same 3 bullet holes and a nice Three Amigos symbol there with the exclamation marks up and down either side. So if we open it up, oh, I forgot that was in there. We have the standard Three Amigos disc, which is on 101 Films. And if I can get the disc out, there is the standard, what they do now, picture from the film of all 3 of them. This is the disc, which is nice. I like to get picture discs. Don't quite like it when they're sort of like bland. It works on some, but it's nice to get a picture one. And the thing that I was going, oh, I forgot about this, is there's a poster. And it looks like it's single-sided. Shame. But we've got the original poster of the Three Amigos. There they are. I believe they did a photo shoot of them in tuxedos as a reunion for the Three Amigos. It was just a one-off moment. They weren't in garb or anything. I don't think it was arranged. I think somebody said, "Oh, why don't now we've got 3 of you together in the one room? Why don't we put you together for just to do a homage to the Three Amigos?" For which I think Steve Martin and that would have jumped at the chance. Just going to put this back now. If I can get the sticky to work. There we go. So it's now back together. And as always with my steelbooks, I put them in their plastic case. So you can get these cases from Steelbook Central and other areas. I think Amazon do their own. So I've pushed that in, and there it is in its nice plastic covering. All glossy and nice. So Three Amigos is definitely one that I would recommend. It's a thumbs up from me. It's got catchy tunes. It's got a nice score. The comedy, although can be hit and miss, is mostly hit. There is just a newness to it compared to Blazing Saddles. Blazing Saddles, to me, is a parody. And from that point of view, it is just funny from start to finish. It also takes a lot more risks, Blazing Saddles, than the Three Amigos does. But that's not to take this away. This is if you just want to cheer yourself up, if you want to sort of like sing along to a couple of songs, if you just want to see the absurdness of it all, Three Amigos is my recommendation for you to watch. And with that, I'm going to say salute and hope to see you in another one of these. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.